evening. I have the pleasure of welcoming you here tonight, and I want to thank you, first of all, for being here. I'm Assistant City Manager Dante Martin, and it truly is my pleasure to welcome you to the City of Wichita Ethics Advisory Board. As you may be aware, for the last several years, the mayor, city council, and city staff has been engaged in a discussion related to ethics. At the core of this discussion is the belief that government service and public sector employment is a public trust that must be upheld. In order to ensure elected and appointed officials are held accountable to maintaining the public trust, the mayor and city council adopted City Council Policy 39 that sets forth the general policy objectives of the city as it relates to ethics for elected and appointed officials of the City of Wichita. I believe you have a copy of that policy in your packet. Council Policy 39 established a code of ethics for City of Wichita officials and created the Ethics Advisory Board that you've agreed to serve on, and I truly appreciate that. Your service is critical to helping city officials, both elected and appointed, represent our city in a manner that is consistent not only with the code of ethics, but also in the best interests of the city, our community, and its residents. So once again, I want to thank you for your commitment to improving our community. At this time, I'm going to introduce Janet Johnson. Janet will facilitate tonight's meeting and also be a key person in helping you as we start this journey in the months ahead. So, Janet.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming. I know many of you rushed here from work, so we truly appreciate that. One of the things that did not get on the agenda, totally my fault, is the swearing in. So you may know that the council meeting lasted about 8 hours today. So Karen's had a very long day. So why don't we go ahead and do the swearing in? And so, So we'll go ahead and do the swearing in. And once she gets you all sworn in, then we're just going to do like some introductions, get to know each other a little bit before we delve into the sticky stuff. Okay? All right, Ms. Karen.
Do we have Mr. Watson on Zoom? And if so, we'll need to see him so I can get him sworn in virtually. Okay.
I can text it, Janet.
Does anyone need a pen or a pencil? You're going to have to sign. You're good? Okay.
I stole Brandon.
Do we want to wait a few minutes?
You can go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay. So if you would raise your right hand, please, and you have your oath in front of you, and just repeat after me. I repeat your name,
I, Vicky Cheney Little,
solemnly swear that I will support
solemnly swear that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the
Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge the duties
faithfully discharge the duties
of the Ethics Advisory Board
of the
Ethics Advisory Board
for the City of Wichita, Kansas, so help me God.
for the City of Wichita, Kansas.
So help me God.
Thank you. And if you would just sign your oath, and then the third handout is the certificate of acceptance of appointment. If you could sign that also, and I'll swing by and pick those up from you.
I have short arms, it'll be the same.
What else did you ask for? Let's take this apart.
Okay.
So as Dante mentioned, this is a new board. So there's always the unknown. when you have a brand-new board, and how much of my time is this going to consume, and how long are these meetings going to be? Initially, you will probably meet 3 or 4 times as we move through some administrative duties. Jennifer will be talking to you later about the option of doing some bylaws and procedural type things that will help guide you in your process. And then after that, you will have to get the ethics officer appointed. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And then there will be an RFP going out for outside legal counsel for this board specifically. That all has to be in place before you ever start reviewing any types of complaints. So that will be later on down the road once we get all of these administrative things ironed out. We will try to be cognizant of how busy everyone is and honor your time as it is very valuable. Okay? So let's go ahead, because now is a great time to get to know who you'll be working with. So if you would each take just a couple of minutes and tell us who you are and a little bit about yourself, that'd be great. You want to start, Vicki?
Vicki Cheney Little. I am a grandmother, a lifetime learner. I got interested in boards and things when I took the Wichita Civic, or was a participant in the Wichita Civic Engagement Academy. And I learned that, I also was raised that you don't sit back and complain, you get off your hiney and do something about something that you care about. So I did.
My name is Lucretia Taylor, and I am the Title IX coordinator with Wichita State University. I have worked in compliance field for a number of years. And so I'm a native Wichitan. I graduated from Wichita State. I went to law school at Washington University School of Law. Spent a considerable chunk of time with Sedgwick County. And so I've had some public sector work. I've worked with Spirit Aero Systems, private sector work. So I've always worked in compliance roles, discrimination, investigation roles, spent some time at K-State and now at Wichita State. I have a daughter who is around married. She's actually a neurologist in Georgia. And so now I have a grandson who is about 15, 16 months old.
My name is Kelly Schodorf. I am an attorney. I have a law firm in downtown Wichita called SJ Law. And I have a 2.5-year-old daughter, Spunky, and then my husband is also an attorney here in town at Martin Pringle. I've been involved for a long time just because of my parents dragged me along to everything growing up. So I'm happy to be here and happy to help.
Larry Wren, and I'm a longtime Wichitan, was born and raised here, and I've been a pastor at Pathway Church for 40 years last week. So my main responsibilities the last 25 years have been executive pastor, so I manage staff. I've done a lot of travel around the world, working with some of our partners. We have 2 grown sons that are married, have 4 grandkids. The problem is they're all in Tennessee, so it's a long drive, but we're enjoying that, just being grandparents. And I, too, took the citizen engagement course, Zoom, online during COVID, and saw some opportunities to engage, and I love Wichita. Been here all my life, and just happy to be a part of this group.
Wichita College, bachelor's in education, taught 2nd and 3rd grade for 6 years. I went to Friends University for their marriage and family therapy, and I'm a licensed clinical marriage and family therapist. I did a lot of home-based services, worked with juveniles, and I'm in private practice. So I've been licensed for over 20 years. I met Maggie this summer when she was on her campaign, and she invited me to help her with that.
What a diverse
You don't want to hear what I
group.
have to
We have a really diverse group here. That's fabulous. All right, so we're going to jump in, and the city attorney is going to review the policy with you. You should have a copy of that in your packet.
Thank you, Janet. Hello, everyone. Again, thank you for serving. My name is Jennifer Magana. I'm the city attorney. However, I'm not going to be representing you as your attorney. This board will have its own special counsel. That's by design, so that outside legal counsel is private and independent of the city. So that's going to be key. Unlike other boards where we in the city law department do serve as counsel, you will be different. You have your own legal counsel. But for now, I am here to just go through the policy as it was drafted. And while the policy is several pages long, your duty is very simple. Your only duty is to enforce the city's ethics policy. And that is to be determined, how long, how much time that will take. As Janet said, this is all new. But that's as simple as it gets. You just enforce that policy. The policy was written by council, and I'll just go through briefly a little bit of the key highlights. I know you can all read this for yourself, but I do want to emphasize the purpose. The purpose is to establish a minimum standard. There are specific values that are referenced here in the city's code of ethics: respect, ethics, stewardship, integrity, engagement. But also this document, as it said, should be interpreted in conjunction with the city's code of conduct, city's campaign finance policy, and the city's social media policy, which will be formally adopted later. The code of conduct is currently in our ordinance. That exists in Chapter 2 of the city ordinance. It's pretty brief. The campaign finance policy has yet to be developed, and I'm not sure of the timeline. The social media policy does exist, and at the right time, I guess we'll get copies of all those things to you. Those documents will be reviewed annually by staff and yourselves to ensure that they're accurate and timely and up to date. So that's the gist of your scope of policy enforcement. There's a lot of definitions here that we included, but I want to have you turn to the second page, page 2, and go down about fifth one. The main one is official. The definition of official encompasses the mayor, city council members, and advisory board members of the city of Wichita. And so advisory board members can be quite a few. We have several city advisory boards, from airport advisory to park to the different trade boards, to the animal care advisory board. Those are the many types of citizen advisory boards that are also, all those folks are considered city officials. So that's the scope of your policy, to enforce the code of ethics to the mayor, council members, and all city officials as defined there. Statement of the policy on page 2. There are quite a few provisions there. Some of them are common sense. Some of them are technical in nature. This does give a specific penalty provision for, well, we'll get down to that. This does have a specific a dollar amount capped for what are the actual levels of gifts that can be received from a donor over a 1-year period. Those are some technical things in nature that you're going to be asked to enforce if we receive complaints. And again, this policy is a complaint-driven policy. You will only be called to act when a complaint has been filed, properly served, reviewed by the ethics officer that you'll select, and reviewed by the outside counsel. At that point, it will come to you. So that's kind of the process. I won't go over the exceptions on gift provision. I will skip to the next page. Ethics Advisory Board. I do want to cover a little bit about that. The purpose there is to, again, enforce the ethics policy. You have that, but you also have to be cognizant of the qualifications for you to continue to serve on this board. You've been appointed by council. You do have some qualifications there. I'll read those just to go through them. You may not be a member of council or spouse or domestic partner of a member of council. You may not be an employee of the city or the spouse or domestic partner of an employee of the city. You may not hold public office, and you may not be a candidate for public office. And 4, you may not be an elected or appointed member of any local, state, or national committee of any political party, nor an active member of a political party, or active member of any partisan or nonpartisan political club or organization. You may not have been convicted of a felony of crime or moral turpitude. You must have good moral standing and reputation. And 7, you must have no conflict of interest with the city or anybody you're regulating. That includes owning business entities or negotiating a contract with, selling goods or services to, or receiving economic development incentives from the city of Wichita. And 8, you're a representative of the demographics of Wichita. There's going to be 7 of you members, and you've each been appointed by the council member and voted on. So congratulations. You're here for 2 years, and that's kind of all there is to it for your duties and your qualifications. As Janet said, your next big duty will be the selection of an ethics officer, and then the hiring of outside legal counsel. One thing you can do and give some thought to is to implement the policy in the way that's best for you. You are free to adopt bylaws or administrative regulations that may guide you on things like meetings or meeting schedules or attendance policies or things that are technical in nature but are not conflicting or expanding beyond what's in the policy as written. So that's something that you would have authority to do if that's helpful, and you can consider that in future meetings. I think that's all that I have for this at this time. I'm sure we'll get into this further down the road, but that's just a quick overview. So thank you.
I'm not sure if you all had a chance to review the policy before coming tonight. If you did, you're free to ask Jennifer any questions that you might have at this time, or we can wait until we move on down the road and get further along in the process. That's entirely up to you. In terms of selecting the ethics officer, that individual is tasked with a significant amount of work and responsibility. So we're providing you a packet that has the 9 applicants. You can take that home with you and review who those individuals are, look at their credentials, do your own research, and at the next meeting then, when you come together, you can discuss who you would like to forward on to the city council for consideration. By policy, you can move forward 1 to 3 names. So you can think about that as you're reviewing those applications. We did have 2 of our board members who had last-minute conflicts come up, and so they weren't able to attend tonight. I think for the next meeting, it's going to be extremely important that we have everyone at the table. So what will be the easiest way for me to determine what your schedule's like? Should I do one of the Google Doodles or whatever that's called? Does that work? Do you want me just to send you options? Or do you care?
Options are good for me.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, I think the email format that you used previously is fine.
okay. And I failed to acknowledge that we have council members with us tonight, and shame on me for that. Council members Tuttle from District 2, Councilmember Blueboff from District 4, and Councilmember Fry from District 5. Would any of you like to welcome the board, say anything?
Thanks for serving.
Thank you.
All right. All right, any questions, any general questions, concerns, thoughts, fears, hopes, and dreams? I honestly don't think you're going to have a tremendous amount of work once we get the administrative stuff worked out. As you read over this policy, some of it seems like an awful lot of work is going to be placed on the ethics officer, and a lot of that is administrative work that we absolutely could assign to a staff member. So in terms of like bylaws or procedures, you could opt to make some changes in that to make the life of the ethics officer a little bit easier. because you'll see a lot of what they're tasked with doing is making copies and distributing packets. And that could certainly be handled by a staff member. No, which is why
That's why I wanted
I think that we probably are going to want to assign a lot of that administrative work to a staff person. I think it's a lot to ask of a volunteer. So you'll see what I'm talking about as you read through there. The expectations are pretty high for a non-paid volunteer position. Yeah, exactly. Okay. All right, well, if you all don't have any more questions, we will go ahead and get you out of here early. I know everyone had a really long day today as you all came in. I could tell everyone's kind of dragging today, and I know our staff are. So thank you so much for coming. You will be hearing from me with options for our next meeting. You have your homework assignment. If you have any questions, I will email you my phone number, and you can call me, email me, and we'll be happy to get you any additional information you might need. Okay? All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Janet.
Thank you.
Thank you.